Stanley presents, oh, hey, that's me, The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. Excelsior. Welcome.
It's time for The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones.
The ultimate hero in the ultimate adventures.
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
Pack your bag, grab your passport, and prepare to go globetrotting with classic four-color adventures of Indiana Jones.
Jones?
Jones! Mr. Jones, I've heard a lot about you, sir. Your appearance is exactly the way I imagined.
I'm here now. What do you want to talk about?
Well, welcome IndyCast listeners and further fans to the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. I am Joe Stuber, joined as always by my fellow Further fanatic, Keith Voss. Keith, happy Indyversary, my brother. Another year, another time to celebrate right here on the IndyCast, right?
Is it already another anniversary
it
for
goes
us?
By so fast. They're quicker, right? In
like,
between.
Yeah. I mean, as we're getting older, I guess things are going faster. You know, we're going to need the Dial of Destiny soon to go back and kind of listen to those first few episodes.
I think I've been dialing my Destiny.
Or we could just download on the IndyCast. I mean, either way.
I down my Destiny all the time. I don't know what that means. I don't know. As you know, well, we'll find out, right? We'll find out.
It's just kind of crazy to know we're getting another Indiana Jones movie at the end of this month. It's just nuts.
Days away.
Yeah.
Do you ever? I mean, look. You know me. I've said all along that Disney doesn't buy stuff unless they're going to. So I've said Indy 5 was going to happen. But to say we're days away.
Yeah.
That one I hadn't seen yet in my brain. So.
But that's the thing. Again, we're talking years down the line of us just even doing this segment for the IndyCast, and also even just recently talking about it on the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull commentary that we did, just how long the IndyCast has been around, and just, in those years, in those dry years, when nothing's happening, we do have the IndyCast and comics and sparingly books that are coming out, but now things are ramping up, and it's just like, whoa, it's here now,
Yeah, it's like the early days of the IndyCast, when Ed and Mitch were talking about it and giving the news and leading in and giving reports. So, and that
exciting times.
I keep thinking of the Big Bang Theory episode where they were the new Star Wars. I think it was right before Force Awakens, and we're getting ready for the movie, and Will Wheaton comes in, in a Star Trek uniform. He's like, regardless of whether this movie is good or bad, your life's not going to change in any way. And I keep saying, the day after, it's like, yep, it's so. But I think it's going to be good. We'll talk about that in a bit. But
yeah.
So again, happy Indyversary.
Happy Indyversary, my friend.
June 13th, right? 2011.
Oh my goodness.
Folks want to go back. It's episode 131 of the IndyCast. That's when we kicked this thing off. And look, we love hearing from our fellow IndyCasters, especially on the anniversary. So we've got some greetings. I'm going to get to those. So let's play a few of those right now. First up is Ron Longo from the trivia segments and also the John Williams specials. Ron sent this in, so take it away, Ron.
Hey, Joe and Keith, this is your fellow IndyCaster, Ron Longo, and I am wishing you a happy anniversary and thanking you for all the amazing episodes you guys put forth. I really enjoyed listening to them, and I love talking to you guys all about Indiana Jones. Hopefully next time Keith is stateside, I'll be able to hook up with him. And Joe, I'm looking forward to hanging out with you in a few months at Terrificon. Again, guys, have a great anniversary, and I'm looking forward to hearing the next show.
Hey, thanks for sending that in, Ron. Looking forward to seeing you once again at Terrificon this year. That's going to be fun. But I love the John Williams specials too, right, Keith? I mean, it's just so much fun going back and listening to the tracks and go, oh, I forgot about that one. Okay, now I got to go get that one.
Getting into as much detail into the music as we do into the comics. I mean, you guys break it down like no other. Thanks for having the both of us on those specials. Yeah. By the way. Ron, we are definitely going to do something soon once I don't have, a bunch of weddings and
your Raiders Red Line's been running everywhere. So
yeah,
I know,
it was a busy time, and I just wasn't able to make it happen, but we will make it happen at one point for sure. We also got a nice anniversary greeting from our buddy Indiana Mick, who, of course, with Chris A in the UK, does the always fantastic Young Indiana Jones Chronicles reviews. Take it away, Indiana Mick.
Congratulations, Joe and Keith. Happy 12th anniversary from your buddy, Indiana Mick.
Always nice to hear from our buddy Indiana Mick. Thanks so much for sending that in. We appreciate it.
We learned about the gear, right? We learned about the fedoras. We learned about the guns. We learned about the... I can't... Like, the Indy 5 is opening up a whole new treasure trove for Indiana Mick, too. So it's like, we get to figure out, like, how does this compare to... How does the 60s gear compare to the 50s gear compare to the 30s gear? It looks similar, but, I mean, Mick finds all these different details, so that's going to be fun to hear his take on that.
Yeah, I can't wait for that breakdown because, some things do look a little different. I mean,
he's a man out of time, but it's again, you get those differences in the things. So always nice to hear those segments. And you mentioned like the young indie segments he produces with Chris A. So we always appreciate those. And speaking of Chris A, what would an anniversary segment be without some input from the man across the pond, the man behind IJ in the UK, the one and only Chris Allen.
A British tar is a soaring soul, as free as a mountain bird.
No time for remake and intros, Dr. Jones. Hey Joe and Keith, Chris A from the UK here, wishing you a very happy 12th anniversary from good old Blighty and the IJ in the UK HQ. I've really been enjoying your recent Further Adventures segments, going back and filling in the blanks of interviews with the Marvel creators, especially Ralph Macchio on the last episode of the IndyCast. Thanks for those great insights that you keep getting out of those guys and gals. I really do think if you keep cracking the whip, one day we'll all find out what was contained in the pages of that elusive issue 35 of Marvel's indie comic back in the day. I also really enjoyed being a guest along with Chris O on the Further Adventures back in early 2022, reviewing Young Indy from the pages of the Sunday Telegraph from right here in the UK, and that was from the early 90s. And I must take this chance to thank you both again for your messages for IJ in the UK's recent 7th anniversary on the IndyCast, and especially, of course, Keith's rendition of A British Tar.
His energetic fist should be ready to resist a dictator.
Now, I know you guys had asked further fans for your favourite storylines from the Marvel pages back in the day as well. So mine isn't a specific storyline, but it's just whenever Katanga and the pirates turn up. And I think you've mentioned this before, that it would be great to get a further adventures from Marvel's new contract with Lucasfilm for Indy, perhaps with the side adventures of Katanga and his pirates. But another standout moment for me isn't from the initial run of 34 issues of Marvel Further Adventures, but actually that splash page that we got in, and you guys would be best qualified to remind listeners where it is, because I couldn't lay my hands on it looking through my collection. But that splash page looking down of Indy's office and just everything, all the objects that are there, and just I remember seeing that for the first time and really poring over it and thinking, oh, which adventure has he got that item from? Where's that from? But that splash page is the thing that really stands out from that era of original Further Adventures. So that's my standout memories from the Marvel years. And finally, some last thanks to both you fine sirs for always listening to my wild-eyed theories on the IndyCast's off-mic group chat, because we all know they've really been shooting Indy 6 back-to-back with Indy 5 and the Dial of Destiny. Am I right, Keith? And we all agree that Boyd Holbrook is really playing a recast Mutt Williams. Yes, Joe? Okay, well for now, and until we find out exactly what's what in cinemas in only a mere month's time, this is Chris A from the UK signing off, wishing you a happy 12th again, guys, and reminding all listeners that after 12 fine years, if adventure has a name, it must be Joe and Keith's Further Adventures of Indiana Jones.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Boy, you pack so much into a greeting. We always appreciate it. And the production values, too, off the charts. We always appreciate that. Man, Chris A. has been busy. We know with all the filming of Indy 5, we've had all those reports that he's been bringing into us. You know, we talked about tag teaming with Indiana Mick. He mentioned Keith Katanga and his crew.
Yes, he knows that's one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna. It's safe to say Katanga is going to be mentioned again in this segment. Let's just put it that way.
I think it's a safe bet. I think it's a pretty safe bet. And yeah, you know what? I've been definitely on fire in the IndyCast chat since way back in the day about them shooting Indy 5 and 6 back to back. I've cooled down a little bit on
those
that.
Theories. You're going to be proven right or wrong in a couple of days.
Yeah, they were shooting that thing for so long. I was like, maybe they're doing too. But yeah, no, it doesn't look like it. But I mean, as far as
I don't think we're getting another mud either. I think
I think mud is.
It's so much fun though, seeing everybody's. Mitch even dropped some theories in the Crystal Skull commentary, so it's always fun. Hey, Chris mentioned that splash page. We did talk about that. That is actually in the comic, a different comic book. It wasn't Further Adventures.
Shang-Chi or Master of Kung Fu or something.
Yeah,
like
The
that?
Hands of Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, issue 121. I have that issue in my hot little hands. I think I snagged one for you at some point.
Yeah, you also got one for me as well. Yeah,
yeah. Yep. It closes out the book. It was an in-house ad. And now, The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones, issue number 2 on sale November 2nd by John Byrne, and then that was it for John Byrne. But yeah, we've talked about this. It's that overhead from the ceiling down, kind of bird's eye view of Indy's office. There's so much in that. I can't remember which episode, but we sort of detailed that. But there's like a white hat, looked like Panama hat. There's a half-eaten sandwich in there, Keith.
Or a Belloc's hat,
right, too. There's a half-eaten sandwich in there. There's so much in there. Go check it out.
There is so much in there. And Chrissy, I agree with you. When I first saw that splash page, and I've been looking for ages for maybe a kind of a blown up version of that to hang up on the wall or something. But when I first saw that, I did the same thing as you did. I was obsessed with it. I was looking at every little detail. Of that. And,
can you imagine having that poster size? Like, so you could really get into it? That would be cool.
I do have a poster size of one of the covers of the Further Adventures. I think it's the Africa Screams, the issue number 7, the one with Indy shooting and the skull in the background.
Oh, that's issue 8. That's on my shirt right now.
That's issue 8. That's right.
Yeah, I've got it on my shirt right now. Yep. We love that cover.
I have a full size original poster of that. Marvel made posters of that.
That's right. That was an ad too, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And I have that. I was able to track one of those down.
Now my OCD's kicking in. I think I got it.
Speaking of spending money, right? Jeez, my goodness.
Well, we'll talk about that in a bit, but we do want you dropped a little nugget there earlier. We want to make sure the folks know. If you missed it, hopefully you didn't, but if you missed it, we got together and completed our 4th film commentary, or official IndyCast film commentary. So we did Raiders of the Lost Ark. We did Temple of Doom. We had Ron and Laird join us for Last Crusade. And then we got together and finally did, for the 15th anniversary, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And we had a few guests join us on that one as well, right? Indy took along a bunch. We did too.
Yeah, I mean, we had a blast doing that, and it was so much fun. And really to kind of revisit Crystal Skull. It's been a long time for me since I really sat down and watched it all the way through. And yeah, it was really a blast to go over that movie and just kind of share all of our thoughts and ideas and our the film shortcomings also as well.
It's fun. I mean, we knew walking into that one there was going to be a mixed bag, right? And that was the cool thing.
But then after doing the commentary, watching it again, and kind of like going, you know what, man, that movie's just fun to watch. Like, you can't condemn an entire film on a couple of little things that, And one thing I did forget to mention in the commentary that I definitely wanted to mention was that, I do still feel that the aliens, or interdimensional beings, they're the ones that might even be responsible for all of the other artifacts in the Indiana Jones universe. So that's quite a possibility.
That's an interesting theory.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe they're coming from the space beyond spaces. Who knows?
Oh, that's pretty cool. And the cool thing we did with the commentary too, and we'll tell this to folks, is that it is a movie to be enjoyed with other fans too. So
Absolutely.
It was nice to kind of get together. We had Mitch join us, we had Ed join us, Ron joined us. So it was 5 of us just kind of jumping into the film, and it was interesting because we all like sort of had. Look, we love the film, but like each one of us had our own little things that we didn't like, but they're all in different areas. So
yeah, absolutely. And
right.
Again, like I said, theories and just yeah, I mean, just coming together to celebrate that movie. I mean, really, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was what, like I mentioned before, was what really set the IndyCast off. So for all of us to kind of come together and sort of celebrate that film, simply for that reason, was just incredible to do. So yeah, thanks to everybody again for joining us for that.
Check it out if you missed it. Definitely.
And, we are, like I mentioned before, we are mere days away, Joe, from the world premiere of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So, I mean, like I mentioned before, buying all this stuff and all these collectibles, how's your expendable income these days? Because mine isn't great at the moment.
God, what expendable income? I've got nothing left. I think the Adventure series took it all.
Okay.
Well, we got the Belloc, and finally we're getting a Marcus figure. It's coming out, so it's like you got to buy that, right? Like,
yeah. See, but the thing is, I'm not an action figure guy. I was when I was younger. I had them all.
You got to buy Marcus. But you got to buy Marcus. You have to, right?
I'm not an action figure guy. I'm spending all my money on books and all the games, like the Funko games that are coming out, and all the board games, and all the I just got the Indiana Jones and Philosophy book. Like, so I'm all about buying books, and I want the comic adaptation, which still I don't know. I haven't seen anything announced about that. I'll get the music, I'll get the soundtrack, I'll get all that stuff. But like, as far as action figures and stuff go, like Funko Pops or like whatever, I'm just not into that stuff. But all my money, like I said, is going towards the board games and so on and so forth. But I mean,
we're sure Les David probably has everything. So if you want to check out his museum, be sure to check that out. If you miss anything, I'm sure it's going to be there. But yeah, I think we just got to focus. I got the retros from Hasbro. I am an action figure guy, so I've got to get all the Adventure series. There's a bunch of them. They are kind of pricey. I love Legos, but I got to stay. They're so pricey at this point. It's just like
super expensive.
I know. It's just like
we'll let Chris A buy all that stuff, and then make all these like really cool dioramas. And send
we'll
us
enjoy them.
Of them, so.
We'll enjoy them.
Like, that's how I'll get my enjoyment out.
I do want to get the poster to add it to the collection, though. I thought it was a fantastic poster by artist Tony Stella. I don't think he was that thrilled with it.
From his post, his post was. I think he referenced Godfather. Look how they massacred my boy, or something like that. It's pretty, pretty intense. But I mean, obviously, we would have loved a Struzen, but like, I really think that the official poster is quite beautiful. It definitely harkens
looks like
back
they
to
used a promo image from Crystal Skull, though, didn't it?
I thought the same. I thought the same.
Maybe I don't know. Correct us if we're wrong, IndyCast listeners. But I do want to get that. I'm seeing giant displays in theaters now. I just want. I mean,
imagine
grab
getting
them and bring them home.
Imagine getting a comic with that kind of artwork. Let's get that adaptation, please. For Dial of Destiny.
You touched on it. I got to say, I did reach out to Marvel Comics editor-in-chief CB Cebulski. Look, we had to do that, right? I was hoping to get him on the show. I know he's running 6 Ways to Sunday right now. He didn't have time for an interview. I tried to get some comment. I reached out through his team, his publicity team. I threw the questions out there, Keith. Still waiting to hear back. I was hoping to get any comment at all on Indiana Jones on an adaptation. You think we'd have it by now if they were going to do it? So I'm going to guess. Boom, 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 boom.
I mean, can you remember when Crystal Skull came out? When the announcement of the comic was coming out, and even getting the soundtrack, all that stuff was like kind of announced. A few months beforehand, right?
You got to go about 3 months. You got to go about 3 months ahead to be able to publish it.
Yeah. So I mean, what's going on, Marvel? We're waiting. We got adaptations on everything else. You can't leave this last one out. Well,
I think when you look at it, Bob Iger came back and retook over Disney, and a lot of stuff changed in that. There was an Indiana Jones TV show that was burning fire hot, and then all of a sudden it was like, well, maybe it's not going to happen. So I'm kind of wondering if they're looking at this because look, Ant-Man didn't do as well as they had hoped. Some of these, big big budget movies aren't. So you kind of wonder, are they hedging their bet here? Of like, look, if the thing blows up and takes over the world, and Indiana Jones is back, you can always put out stuff afterward, right? So maybe they're just dialing, no pun intended, but maybe they're just dialing the destiny back a little bit. If it hit, so go see it like a million times, right? Like, let's make it make money, and then hopefully
I think it will be. Exactly. I think it will be Indy's destiny to come back in comic book form.
We hope. We hope. But, the thing is, they've got all the issues out there, 34. So sometimes you get those epic treatments.
Oh, yeah.
That's low-hanging fruit there. I mean, you think they would put that out just to, get some interest and, make some money of stuff that's already been printed. So,
and, what the appetite as well.
Yeah, I've seen on social media, people are clamoring for the epic treatment for further adventures. So anyway, we'll see what we get. We'll be happy with anything we get. Hopefully more indie comics in the future. But okay, so we've talked about Indy's future. We've done that a lot. For the balance of this anniversary special, we're going to be talking about Indy's past, specifically some of the tales from Marvel Comics, The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we had to go back there, right? I mean, Our recent interview with former Marvel Comics editor Ralph Macchio, I mean, he inspired us to really go back and look at the 34-issue run. And we wanted to select our favorite stories from the series.
Yeah, let's. Why not? Like, we talked about.
We haven't done that before.
No, we talked about the Marvel Comics. We talked about Dark Horse. We've interviewed everybody, but then it's like we know which ones we like. But it was fun to kind of go back and go, let's put together a top 5, right? So 5 stories each. That's what we're going to do. Are they all going to be different? Are we going to end up with a top 10? Probably not. There's probably going to be some overlap. Maybe your top 5 is my top 5. I don't know. We don't know each other. We haven't told each other this.
That's it. That's the thing. Just to let the listeners know, Joe and I have not shared each other's top 5 going into this. So you guys are going to find out as soon as well as when we find out. So this is the first time we shared this list with each other.
Yeah, it was fun going back. I enjoyed rereading these stories over again. You want to kick it off? You want to you start with your number? We're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, obviously. So you want to kick things off with your number
I'll kick
5
things off.
best, greatest. Further adventures.
So I'll go with my number 5. My number 5, which is gonna probably be a surprise to you. Right. My number 5 is issue 14, which is Demons. Remember that one?
I do remember
Harvey
that
Pondexter discovering the trunk filled with the armor and bones in the basement of the of that museum that he was curating.
Yeah, you went with a one-off. That was
I went with the one-off as number 5.
We always talk about that. Like the multi-part arcs. I think there was one 3-parter, a bunch of 2-parter. You had the single standalone issues. So interesting. You went with the one. I got to say, I had it down to 6. I was struggling a little bit. I will tell you,
it was tougher than I thought it was going to be. To be honest,
it was a little bit.
It was tougher than I thought it was going to be. But then once I started writing them down, I'm going, oh no, this is clearly definitely okay. Yeah. And then once I got to my number 1 is clear. But we're going to get to that. But the whole thing with this issue was, first of all, I love that cover.
Yeah,
I love that cover. And the story, that was a Brett Blevins cover. Mm-hmm. Amazing cover. The story was really, really interesting, and it reminded me slightly of what Last Crusade was going to be.
Okay.
Which Last Crusade was going to be the haunted mansion kind of thing, right? This just reminded me there was something in this trunk in the basement, and Pondexter finds it, and he kind of gets this maybe he gets this power from there. It just reminded me of it could be a haunted house story. And I really, really enjoyed it. It's one that definitely stands out to me.
Yeah, Last Crusade was going to be that. It sort of became the castle in the middle of the film. So, yeah, I mean, strong choice coming up. I got to say, my 6, the one that did not make the cut, I'll give you a little inside baseball here. It came close, was The Fourth Nail. That was issues 11 and 12. It was, and I actually went back and listened to our review to make sure, and it stayed the same. My thoughts stayed the same on it. So I thought it had a strong first issue, not so much a strong second issue, set up better than the payoff. I will say Ben Ali Ayoub, very cool villain. I liked him.
Great villain.
Yeah, just not making the cut was The Fourth Nail. So I'm going to give you the inside baseball there. But my number 5, I'm going to go to issues 17 and 18, The Search for Abner.
Ooh, that's your number 5.
That is my number 5. I know. Okay, so we got writer David Michelinie, penciler Herb Trimpe. Oh, the late, great Herb Trimpe. Inker Vince Coletta.
He was amazing.
Yeah, also Danny Bollinati and Ernie Chan on issue 18. That was 2 parts. I will, spoiler alert, I am going to go two-parter. I do like my two-parters. Chapter 1
The rest of my choices are all two-parters.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I think they're, So I kind of like that you threw in a single shot, because I don't have this. So at least the single shots are represented on our list. That's good. Chapter 1 was the Grecian Urn. That was May 1984, Part 2, City of Yesterdays Forever, followed in June. Keith, this features one of my favorite characters in the run, Ian McIver. I love me some Ian McIver.
Oh, yeah.
He was first introduced in issue number 7. Is that one going to make my list?
Probably.
Yeah, Ian's a red-bearded Irishman. He was an antiquities thief. He has a history with Indiana Jones, just like we love with Belloc and Forrestal. In the story, Marion Ravenwood gets word that her father, Abner Ravenwood, he might actually be alive. Indy and Marion are attacked by a Minotaur. There is a horse chase. You know I love Indiana Jones in the snow. He's in the Himalayas. There's a pack of Yetis. There's a hidden city. There's a lot going on in this story. So the search for Abner. Is Abner alive? You got to read it. Hopefully, read it. I don't know if he's alive. But that's my number 5, issue 17 and 18. The search for Abner.
Well, you already hit the nail on the head, because when
the fourth nail?
My number 4 is the fourth nail.
Yeah, that was so close to putting that one in.
I really enjoyed the fourth nail.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, like you said, everything that you said and more. Ben Ali Ayoub, I really loved the kind of, it felt very Raiders-like, having the fourth nail, a gypsy artifact associated with the crucifixion of Christ and all that. I mean,
there's that religious element that comes in, right, with Raiders and Last Crusade. It kind of ties
Exactly. We got Marion in there. There's so much good stuff going on in those 2 issues, and of course we got great covers. I mean, Kerry Gamble and Bob McLeod, just incredible stuff.
We talked to Kerry. It was so good, it took too long to get the issues. And I think we talked about that's where it sort of ran out of steam in that second, right? It felt a little rushed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we got Marcus in there. We really got some great. We got a little reference to Kali. I like to think of it as the small Temple of Doom reference in there. And we got Abner's mentioned in there. Really cool artifacts, really amazing locations. We have Australia, we have Spain, Cairo, Switzerland, the States. Of course, they're in Connecticut, the National Museum, and of course, the Raven's Nest gets mentioned as well. I really, really enjoy those 2 issues. And even when I used to play the TSR Indiana Jones role-playing game, I have all of the supplements. But they did do a couple for the further adventures, the fourth nail being one of them. And I remember playing through the fourth nail a couple of times. So,
for listeners
really,
out there,
really
it's sort of like a Dungeons and Dragons thing that, TSR released. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go on, because as you mentioned, I think probably the ones on our list are going to hit these TSR things. But it was a role-playing game, so it was like you bought the little module, right? Yeah. So fourth nail was definitely one of them. I think I mentioned it was pretty close. So I felt it ran out of steam a little bit on the back end in issue 2. I think that's why it just didn't make the cut. But I kind of figured that was going to make your list, because I know you liked that story so much. Because I figured, Keith's going to do that one. We know each other after 12 years of doing this show. All right, so that's your number 4.
Yeah.
My number 4, I'm going to go with, Chris A., he mentioned it earlier, The Sea Butchers, issues 15 and 16. Again,
fantastic.
Writer David Michelini, penciler, the great Herb Trimpe, inker Vince Coletta. That, again, another 2-part story. Part 1 is Island of Peril, March 84. Part 2, Death on the Dark Waters. That was in April. Jock Lindsay and Simon Katanga return, right? We love these characters from Raiders, but we just got a little snippet of them. And we know those adventures exist, right? Indy's had adventures with them, right? He knows these folks. Well, not in Raiders, he meets Simon for the first time, but with Jock, he's had adventures. But we wanted more Simon, right? We figure the boat came back, and that's who rescued them off the island, right, in Raiders?
Off the island at the end of Raiders, of course.
Yeah, so it's like Indy goes and travels. So, we want more Simon. So the crew of the Bantu Wind is in it. Really dark villain, Keith. The pirate Emeralda Vasquez.
She is brutal. She is brutal.
Some shocking moments in this story.
Yeah,
you look at the panel and then you move forward and you go, whoa, did I just see what I think I saw? And you go back and you go, oh yeah, they got away with a lot. And back in the 80s.
They sure
Herb
did.
Trimpe, we talked to Herb. He loved to draw planes. He mentioned that he got a lot of planes in this issue. Obviously, we got Jock. Indy takes down a Japanese fighter plane with a grappling hook.
Which,
So
I mean, great stuff.
Yeah, and we love our
you know how
creepy
much I love Katanga, so also, I think he's a great character. And the fact that he got a further adventure in comic book form, that's definitely high up.
And
up there,
creepy
for sure.
crawlies. We love Indiana Jones creepy crawlies, right? So we got crabs attacking Indy while he's buried in the sand. It was
we get it all.
It was a good episode. So yeah, that's my number 4 is the Sea Butchers, issues 15 and 16.
Oh, that's a really, really good choice. All right, I'm gonna shock you right now. Right? Sea Butchers didn't make my list.
No, okay. Well, I'm glad I put it
that
in there,
was my number.
You love
That
Simon.
was my number.
You
6.
love Katanga.
Yours was I know, but yours was the fourth nail at
then it
number
worked
6,
out.
right?
Then it worked out.
Exactly.
We got them in. They sort of unofficially make each other's list.
And you know what? Since you already mentioned it, I mean, I'm not going to go into detail. You already mentioned it, but number 3 on my list is Search for Abner. Issue 17 and 18, and again, for all the reasons that you said and more. After watching Raiders, and then picking up that first issue and going, wait a minute, Abner might be alive.
Yeah,
okay, you got me.
Yeah.
The City of Yesterday's Forever too. I mean, come on, these titles are fantastic. I mean, we were in. Where did we go on this one? We went to the Himalayas. Afghanistan, Africa. Yeah. I mean, we're traveling around Nepal, Shanghai, all these places that Indy's have been mentioned. But we're going all over the globe here. We're getting characters that you have me intrigued. I want to know. It's a page turner. I want to know if Abner's alive. And again, like you said before. Is he? Well, you're just going to have to read the comic to find out.
Well, that's the interesting thing, too, is in the Sea Butchers, you get to the end of issue 16, and there's that little panel where I think Indy and Marcus are talking, and he mentions that Marion got a telegram or a note communicate that Abner about her dad, and then he's like, "Wait, what?" And you're like,
yeah, exactly.
"I have to wait a month for this," And
yes,
he's like, and then we got the search for So great,
and
some
call. Great covers too. That issue 18 cover, the City of Yesterday's Forever, where he's on the bridge. I mean, I'm a sucker for Indy on a bridge, right? I mean,
with a Yeti,
with a Yeti. I mean, come on, that's classic. That's classic.
Yeah, the only thing
serial, movie. Pulp books, pulp novel material right there. Come on, that's amazing stuff.
The only thing better than Indy in the Snow is Indy in the Snow with a Yeti trying to kill him.
With a Yeti on a bridge.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Great stuff. So that's your number 3.
That's my number 3, Search for Abner. Search for Abner.
Okay, I may or may not surprise you with, I think you probably know this one's coming, but maybe not the placement of it. My number 3 is and I hopefully I will not butcher the pronunciation, the Icons of Icamanan.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, kickstarting the book.
On, it's the first 2 issues, right? I mean,
issues 1 and 2. John
amazing.
Byrne, he was like the perfect individual for Indiana Jones. Unfortunately, it only lasted 2 issues because we talked about this before, but he got frustrated with input from Lucasfilm. He's like, he's done with it. So we got writer John Byrne, and then Denny O'Neil and Byrne tag teamed on issue number 2. John Byrne did the artwork. Terry Austin did the inking on it. So it looks fantastic. Again, 2-part issue. It kickstarted the series. Issue 1 published October 82. Part 2, 22 Karat Doom, followed in November. And then we talked about those TSR games. When you get the TSR game, the starter kit, the big box, and you get the whole thing, that's the story that's in it.
Yep.
So, and there's so much, I think I just remember that era of getting that role. I got it here. I'm staring right at it. But it's like, you've got all these sort of fold out cardboard things, and you've got the icons, the gold images, and it was so cool.
It's classic. It really is.
Yeah, when you get the book, it's like, how do you get the title of the Icons of Icamanan? And it's the 4th chapter of the book. So Byrne breaks it down into chapters. So that's the title. That was, the characters, Keith, in this thing. Solomon Black, great villain that comes into this. Edith Dunn and Charlie Dunn come in. Vote, there's this cool masked henchman in it of Solomon Black. Miss Greebley. The book opens with Indiana Jones as Professor Jones cracking his whip, and he's trying to knock a cigarette out of Miss Greebley's mouth, and Marcus walks in, and you're like, what? What?
The thing is, with
extra
icons,
credit, right?
is that you could definitely picture it being a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can really visualize that they could probably film this, and it would be an awesome Indiana Jones adventure.
Yeah. And how about the ending? I just remember I went back and listened to our review of the book too, and it was just like, you and I get to this ending thing, and it's, again, they really go to some dark places in further adventures, especially some of the early adventures.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
that's keeping in line with the movies, though. Like, I mean, all of the villains have a dark end. You know what I mean? It's keeping in line.
Mola Ram goes down.
Exactly. I mean, a guy gets
bangs off the
chomped up by crocodiles at the end. You know what I mean?
It's a fair point.
It's keeping in line with the movies. That's another reason why this series was so great. Is they really kept to the spirit of the films.
Yeah. And that twist, there was a nice twist ending from Byrne. We come in and you just you play this whole thing. You're like, oh, I really love these characters. And then there's this huge twist ending, and then it gets really dark, and there's things that happen on the plane, and and then you jump right into issue 3 and it picks up right where issue 2. It's great. It's one of my favorites. Kickstarted the book, and what a way to kickstart it.
Absolutely. That's a great choice. A little bit of a shock there though.
Did you think it was going to be a little higher?
I thought that was going to be your number one, to be honest. But
okay.
A shock here though is that it didn't even make my list.
Are you kidding me?
Didn't make my list.
Wow. Okay. Well, we are bringing some different things in. That's
so we got 2 left. Or at least I have 2 left.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many great stories here.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. There's so many great stories here. I really had to dig deep and be like, do I like this better than that? What is something that I think I could really identify with more or like more than something like Icons? And for me, my number 2, the choice was clear. It's Africa Screams, issues 7 and 8.
It's my number 2. Let's spoiler alert.
So there we go. So we both chose it as number 2. Look at that. I mean, Africa Screams. That's just it's just an amazing. Again, we got your Ian McIver, right? I mean, released. Well, what was it, March 1983, right? Cover date July, August.
Yeah,
1983.
March 83, and then May 83. Yeah, a couple months later, we got the second issue 8.
Look at those covers.
I look at my shirt and see the cover. You look at your poster.
Yeah,
that's how amazing these covers
8,
are. Yeah.
I mean, I have that cover as a poster.
Chaykin, the great Howard Chaykin, man.
Howard Chaykin. Again, you got Kerry Gamble, Joe Rosen. Yeah,
Michelini writing, Gamble with the artwork, Sam De La Rosa inked it.
Oh. It's just fantastic.
But doesn't it feel like plucked right out of that era?
Yes.
Again, insanely amazing artwork, but a fantastic story. Keith, that ending, if you loved Raiders, you love Africa Screams.
It's right out of, again, they captured the spirit of these definitely of Raiders.
Yeah.
They captured the spirit of Raiders so well, especially in this 2-parter, that it had to make the list. And also, again, TSR, when they were doing the Indiana Jones role-playing game, they released a supplement of this.
Yep, got it right here.
And man, I played that thing 100 times, so it's just so embedded in my brain how amazing that duology was that it had to make that had to make my number 2.
Yeah, and how amazing is it too to have the cover of issue 7, and you're like, oh, this has to be the best cover of the run, and then you get issue 8, and you're like, oh no, that's the best cover. So to me, I think it has 2 of the best cover. Like, you've got the jungle, you've got Indian Marion in the jungle.
Snakes.
a much better snake joke than Indian Marion in the jungle and Crystal Skull. Like, that's how you do a snake joke. But then the perils that they're going through, it's so, and much darker too in this book. Again, we talked about Ian McIver. What a great character. It's like, okay, put yourself in that era. You've got Raiders. That's the only reference you have. You can't do a whole lot because they know they've got a sequel coming out. So how do you build this world? Belloc's gone. Forrestal, he was good. He was very, very good, but he's dead. So how do you play that into it? How do you get that spirit in? And you've got Ian McIver, and they've got this backstory. And he's a wonderful character that they brought into it. So there's so much going into that. That was his first appearance. Again, he comes back in later. There's so much to love about this story.
Multiple issues. Yeah. I mean, and you can't deny that Further Adventures did not create some fantastic villains again, and even going back and just sort of revisiting these for this list was just like, man, these were some really fun, good, like authentic feeling Indiana Jones villains. Like they nailed it.
Yeah, but not even putting him in the sort of mustache twisting thing, but it's almost like that Belloc. It's like, hey, he's like a shadowy version of Indy,
shadowy reflection of Indy.
It wouldn't take much to push you out of the darkness. So it's like out of the light into the darkness. It's like, that's very much Ian McIver, like all these. So you understand the motivations. So rich just for, you think of comic book series, but how does that not make number one, Keith? Like, how did we talk? We both love that. How does that?
A special place in my heart, but we'll get to that. But
I have a feeling our number two and number one are the same.
Yeah, it might be. So I mean, again, story-wise, you can't forget story-wise. Yeah, these are great, but also the artwork, and you can definitely see that they put a lot of love into these stories, which is again why it's such a shame that these issues in these stories weren't able to breathe with 3, maybe 4 issues where they can explore these locations. They could explore these characters a little bit more.
Would have loved
that's
the time.
why they have an opportunity now with Dial of Destiny coming out, Indiana Jones fever hitting again.
Yeah,
give us some more comics. Come on.
Yeah, Gamble would have loved the time to do that, and they did do that in the Dark Horse books. They got the the 6-part series or the 4-part series. So that's what Byrne wanted.
They needed to
do.
hit the sweet spot, though. They needed to hit the sweet spot because as we talked about, and we're getting a little bit off track here, folks. Sorry, but that's just what Joe and I do. They needed to hit the sweet spot. With some of those stories, they went a little too there was a little too many extra issues sometimes, and sometimes just 1 or 2 not enough. So. Yeah,
depends on the characters. Depends on how compelling the characters were. And in this one, Africa Screams, you got everything. You got it all. So very cool. Exactly. Good choice for number 2. I certainly like it. It's my 2. There you go. There you go. So let's go on to number 1.
Number 1. All right. Do you want to do it or should I?
Oh, everybody knows what it is by this point, right?
Do we?
Of course we do.
It's
all yours.
It's the Gold Goddess.
Of course it is. What else would it be?
It's got to be the Gold Goddess.
You did a radio drama out of it. You brought it to life.
Radio drama.
Yeah.
Really, a sequel to Raiders, let's be honest.
Direct sequel.
Soft spot in my heart. Really, it is a continuation of a number of things from Raiders, right? In particular, of course, the opening sequence from South America and getting the idol. We even have the Jovitos. You know what I mean? We have Toad's sister. We got. He goes to Marrakesh. He got the $5,000 and he went to Marrakesh.
If you were ticked off that Indy didn't get the idol, it's okay because he does.
Yeah.
So read the story and it's all better.
We got Sala. We got. He's in New York City. We got the. Come on. Inside we get a replica of the Chachapoyan temple. Yeah. We get Jovitos. Did I mention the Jovitos? But we get more Jovitos.
If only he spoke Jovitos. Yeah. What an amazing story. Archie Goodwin with the plot, David Michelini with the story, penciler, our buddy Dan Reed.
Yes.
Our buddy Dan Reed, inker Danny Bollinati. We mentioned this. It was an IndyCast radio drama in 2011.
Yes.
You and Rob McGee did an amazing job on that, putting that together. Laird and I sneaked a little bit of a voice in there. I think you were nice enough to include us as we were putting things together. Chapter 1 was Zomek's Raiders, so even the title coming right out of Raiders. They were trying to tie that in. Chapter 2, Amazon Death Ride.
Death Ride. Come on,
in October.
Great names.
Yeah, it's, I mean, like you mentioned, all the continuation of the elements from Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was the TSR game. We had that. Marion is here. You mentioned Sala. Ilsa Tote. Right? She's trying to get revenge for her brother, Arnold Ernst Tote. So that plays into it. But you think it's like, it's not so much of like, just, take everything from Raiders and make it the exact. It is a perfect continuation of it.
It really is.
That's the key. Really, it's not just regurgitating things and recycling things. It's a perfect extension of that. Terrific
and well
covers.
Done again to Archie Goodwin on that plot, and David Michelinie for writing it. I mean, again,
the covers.
Dan Reed. Yeah, the covers are incredible. The covers
Chaikin and Terry Austin on issue 9. Chaikin and Bob Wyacek on issue 10. Come on.
Yeah, it doesn't get any. As far as Further Adventures of Indiana Jones goes, guys, it doesn't get much better than those 2 issues. It really doesn't.
No, and go back and get the radio drama and listen along. See, it's not necessarily a read along. We've done some of those, the read along adventures, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, we had so much fun making that.
And you guys really brought the story to life, the whole team. So go back and check that out. It's a 2-parter. It's out there on the IndyCast. And man, it brings that, as great as an adventure as that is in the comic, you and Rob working together, bringing that to life, it just makes it even better. I think that's primarily why it makes my number 1, because I love it so much.
Well, and also, I mean, I got to meet Dan Reed. We had lunch together once in New York City. And I brought my original Further Adventure comics that I had from when I was young, and he signed them for me, and we had a wonderful chat about it. Dan, if you're still listening, we miss you and hope you're doing well. And yeah,
he gave us original artwork, right?
He gave us original artwork. He did an alternate cover.
Yeah.
He did an alternate cover, which I still have the original of. And that definitely is on our Further Adventures Facebook page. We posted that years ago. He did an alternate cover. He never got to do he always wanted to do his own cover for that. So he did.
I think the pictures of you and him having lunch, I think we've put those out there. I think we've got that cover that he did out there. So if you want to relive Keith and Dan's adventure further, go check out the Facebook page, because you guys had a blast.
Oh, we certainly did. And again, like I said, we just talked so much about like the making of those issues and just the story and just Indiana Jones in general. And we had a really great time. And I definitely look back fondly on that afternoon. And yeah, it was amazing that he took the time to come meet us and talk to us also on the IndyCast.
Yeah.
So yeah, number one in my book.
Yeah, same here. I'm glad our number 2 and number 1 are the same, because I think those tales are just unbelievably incredible and fun lists. I wasn't sure if it was going to match up completely, but I think there's enough, overlap. We got a few extra tales in there, so that was fun. I enjoyed going through that. All right, so Further fans, those are our favorites. What stories are your favorites? Keith, how can they let us know?
Well, like always, you can email us at thefurtheradventures@gmail.com. And don't forget, you could also comment or message us on our Facebook page. We want to hear from you. Tell us what your favorite Further Adventure issues are.
Okay, that's it for the day then.
Okay, Further fans, that is all for today. Keith really enjoyed taking a look back at Marvel's run on Further Adventures, especially for our 12th anniversary. So again, happy Indyversary, my brother.
Happy Indyversary. Again, it's not the years, it's the mileage, and we definitely have put in our mileage. Maybe we're breaking down a bit. Maybe we need an oil change, but hey, we got Indy 5 coming up soon.
We need to stay together for Indy 5, right? Like, exactly. Hold it together.
We need to hold it together, right? It's almost here, and hopefully we're going to get some more comics. At least we got to get at least a comic adaptation out of this. Please, we need a comic adaptation. And if this kickstarts another series like Further Adventures, come on, we're all in, and we're going to do another 20 years on this on the IndyCast, much to the chagrin of Mitch and Ed, probably.
As long as Ed keeps it going, we'll be here as well. Like you said, hopefully some indie comic book news at some point. It's got to happen, right? Hopefully we can get that. And if it does, it gives us more to talk about, and that's what
absolutely.
We want to do.
And you know what? And next time we're doing this, we're going to be talking about Indy 5 for real.
Oh yeah, that'll be good. No more speculation. We'll know exactly what we're talking about. So, again, So much fun talking about this on the IndyCast. Cannot wait till we get together again the next time on The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones.